It's hard to believe that the original Lexus RX has been around since 1999, and in that 20-year time span, we've seen the American market for SUVs kind of explode throughout the years, and Lexus really hit a gold mine when they introduced this vehicle back then. It's quickly become the company's bestseller, with them moving annually about 100,000 units every year. So in that time frame, a lot of people have been begging Lexus to do a 3-row crossover version, and it's finally here. Today, they've sent me over this 2019 Lexus RX 350L with a 3rd-row seat. So was it worth that 20-year wait? That's what we're here to find out. So as the best-selling model in the Lexus lineup, the RX represents a very important vehicle for Lexus. This is the best-selling luxury vehicle here in America. So as expected, they haven't really changed the styling too much. You guys should be pretty familiar with this generation. This is the 4th generation RX that I first showed you guys this car when it first came out back in 2016. For 2019, Lexus hasn't made any changes to the design. You still have the signature Lexus corporate look here with the big spindle grille. The F-Sport package that is available on the smaller version isn't available on the L. This is only just the standard grille with the horizontal slats. You have LED headlights, full LED headlights is standard. There is a premium triple beam LED that's part of an option package, the standalone option. This one doesn't have. You also get LED fog lights down here. And overall, the spindle grille and this more aggressive Predator face have been kind of a hit or miss with the RX. Some people either love it, some people hate it. I think it looks really good in this Matador red pearl exterior color. It really shows off the aggressive lines of this vehicle quite nicely. Now, my tester has an optional 20-inch wheel that's part of like a $1,200 option package. They fill out the wheel wells nicely. I do like the way they look with the inner dark finish spokes with the machine finish on the outer lip. It's a 235/55 tire all around. If you guys go for a luxury package, it'll also include 20-inch wheels. Every other RX will come standard with an 18-inch wheel. Now, the RX is still based on the Toyota K platform. It shares a platform with the Toyota Highlander, so this is not the TNGA platform that you've seen on some of the newer Lexus and Toyota products. Its wheelbase is the same as the 2-row model at 109.88 inches long. Lexus has really only added length to the actual rear quarter panel, or the rear overhang. It's about 4.5 inches longer at 196.9 inches long. It is longer actually than a Toyota Highlander by about 4.5 inches, which is surprising. You can't really tell this vehicle is much bigger until you kind of stare at this angle here where you're seeing, you know, that floating roof design where it's kind of been stretched out. It looks a little bit oddly proportioned for my taste when I look at this particular angle. Again, Lexus kind of added the length to give you the 3rd-row capacity, but overall it doesn't really look very well integratedly designed in. Now at the back of the vehicle, the look hasn't changed. You still have these LED combination taillights where you'll have an LED brake light, an LED reverse light, but incandescent turn signals. You also get the little subtle L badge at the back, and then no visible exhaust tips. On the F-Sport model, which I actually kind of appreciate considering this is just supposed to be kind of a, you know, luxury-oriented trim. You can also get the RX 350, you can also get this in a hybrid in the 450 model. Now, looking at the cargo area, this is also where Lexus should have been able to add more space. Now, unfortunately, when they added the 3rd row, it does eat into the cargo capacity. Now, with the 3rd row up here, you're looking at around 16 cubic feet of space, which is about 2 cubic feet less than what you get in the standard RX model, the 2-row model. Now, Lexus does give you an optional power fold feature for the third row, which is nice. All you have to do is push these 2 buttons here. The seat folds down. It's a little bit on the slower side, but when it does fold down, it actually will start to sink into the floor and make it relatively flat. which is a nicely finished area. You're probably doubling the space. I couldn't find the actual numbers when you have the seat down, but it is very useful. The third row here also gets its own set of climate control vents. If you fold down the second row, Lexus says the total capacity is around 58.7 cubic feet, which is only about 2 cubic feet more than the standard 2-row model. So the cargo area is definitely small, even in this class. If you compare this car to its platform mate, the Toyota Highlander, that offers 83 cubic feet of space with all the seats folded. Remember, this car is actually longer than the Highlander, so it's definitely interesting. But overall, the car capacity is nicely finished, very usable. Just know that it's a little bit smaller than most of the competition. Moving on to the inside of the Lexus RX 350L, let's first talk about the key fob. This is the standard Lexus key fob that I've shown you before. It doesn't actually have remote start, at least some people have told me you can do it in like a secret sequence. I haven't actually been able to try it, or maybe you can go into the Lexus Inform app. But like every other Lexus product, just kind of keep the key fob in your pocket. As you approach the door handle, there's a little ridge portion here on the door handle. If you touch that, it'll lock the doors for you, and then if you unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, Lexus has always had very strong interiors, and this one's definitely no exception. The seats, I really like the two-tone combination that this one gives you with the brown leather and the beige, the contrasting stitching. The leather itself is super supple. The seats are also heated and cooled, that's an option, and they're like 10-way or 12-way power adjustable. The interior definitely makes a strong first impression, and it feels like it's a step above any other Toyota product. Now, getting into this car, it's also really easy to get in and out of, which is why a lot of people really like the Lexus RX. And then when you shut the door still sounds pretty solid. This is, remember, a pretty expensive car in the like $50,000 range. Now, if you want to start the vehicle up, just put your foot on the brake, push this button here to fire up the engine. Now, all the models will have this power tilt telescoping steering wheel, which is nice. You have the Lexus Inform 12-inch display here, which is part of an upgrade to get that larger display, or actually it may be standard on the RX. But overall, you can see the gauges here look nice, although they are a little bit dated looking because the actual screen there is pretty small. Most competitors have now moved on to a full LCD display. Lexus is still doing this very traditional display. It kind of reminds you a little bit of a Toyota there when you look at that display, although Toyota doesn't offer anything larger like this, but you can see the infotainment system, the graphics are pretty much very similar. They're going to remind you of a lot of some Toyota products. Now let's go over the interior quality in here. You actually have faux stitching on the upper dashboard here, which is all soft touch. It's also soft touch right here with more of that faux stitching. The faux stitching continues over here. There's some aluminum look plastic trim here, and then this wood trim is actually genuine. Is part of a premium package that my tester has for $800. Now, looking at the door panels here, it's also soft touch with more wood trim. This is actual real leather right here. It's also very soft, supple leather. There's a good storage bin right here where you can use as a little grab handle to shut the door. The mirrors will electrically fold. If you have it in the automatic setting here, it will power fold the mirrors whenever you close it. The window switches also are nice and solid feeling. It's one touch express for all four. The window will kind of slow as it comes to a close, which is a nice luxury touch. Now, this steering wheel is an older Lexus steering wheel. You guys have seen me showing you a different steering wheel on the new ES or the new LS, so I imagine Lexus will update the RX soon. I like the telescoping function. I like all the buttons on the steering wheel. It's got the old cruise control stock here again. The Lexus Safety Sense Plus system is standard, so you do have active lane keep assist, you have adaptive cruise control with full stop and go, you have automatic emergency braking. That is standard across the board on any Lexus RX product, so that's definitely a nice thing to have. This screen right here, of course, is not a touchscreen. This is the same 12.3-inch Lexus Inform infotainment system that is controlled by this awful mouse pad here, or this little mouse that kind of moves around a cursor. You guys have heard me complain about this a lot, so I'm not going to go too much in depth with this. When you go to the menu screen here, you can see all your different sources. This does not have Apple CarPlay like I've shown you in the new Lexus ES. So this is the older system. Hopefully Lexus will update this soon enough. When you put the vehicle into reverse here, you can see mine just has a standard backup camera with the front and rear parking sensors. You can add in a full 360 camera for like $2,000, a part of an option package if you guys want that. You can see the resolution. It's not great. It's not like with all the German cars, but it definitely gets the job done. The screen looks really nice. Your electronic parking brake is over here, and then your actual heated and cooled seats are kind of buried down here in front of the shifter, which does block your vision from time to time. These heated and cooled seats are like an $800 option, which is nice. This controls the 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a very standard looking Toyota looking shifter. No paddles on the wheel. That was usually part of the F-Sport package. Instead, you have a manual mode down here with an actual sport mode where it will give you a little bit more aggressive shifting. We'll go into the test drive later on. Nice dual cup holders here, a little bit of storage here. No wireless charging, as you can see in this older vehicle. It is nice and padded right here. where you would kind of rest your hand while you're using this little pad. This is your drive mode selector here, push for normal, to the left for eco, to the right for sport. So it's pretty straightforward. You have a locking center diff here for the all-wheel drive system. You can turn off the stability control there. This is also nice and padded right here. That gives you a decent amount of storage. There's 2 USB ports, an aux port, power outlet in there. Pretty good amount of storage, as you can see. And the lid itself feels relatively nice. The leather seats are easily one of the most comfortable, soft leather seats I've sat in for this segment. And then surprisingly, this moonroof is optional, but there's no pano roof available in this car. Strange considering the Toyota Highlander offers a pano roof if you guys go for the top trim. So I don't know why Lexus isn't offering that. Over here you can see the glove compartment is huge. It's lined with felt, it's damped. So storage options in this car are pretty good, and overall the interior of the RX has aged really well. I'm just waiting for Lexus to add the new infotainment system in this vehicle and maybe swap the steering wheel for the newer steering wheel and then maybe update the gauges. But overall, this is still a really pleasant, really easy to drive and see out of luxury crossover. So the whole purpose of this longer version was to give you more space in the second and third row, right? Well, getting back here into the second row, it actually is a pretty good amount of space. You can see the floor is completely flat right here. There's good foot space underneath here. There's rear seat air vents. Now keep in mind, this one has the captain's chairs for $400. If you guys go for the standard bench, you'll have a 7-passenger configuration. This is only a 6-passenger because of that. Now my tester is missing the luxury package that'll give you like rear sunshades here. It'll give you more controls for like power. It'll give you heated rear seats. That is extra if you guys want to add that in. This one as it sits is kind of a little bit bare. Keep in mind though, this seat is all the way back. I'll go into the third row later on. Lexus pretty much says that if you want the third row to actually have any space, this is where the seat is supposed to be, which I'll show you guys when we go into the third row. But Lexus also said that when they expanded this vehicle to give you more space, they took out like 4 inches of legroom in the second row here. They've rated it at like around 31 cubic inches of legroom, which is really small. But keep in mind that most people probably won't use the third row and you'll have the seat all the way back. And this is relatively nice. But let's hop in the third row and see if it's actually usable for kids or adults. So now it's time to finally get into the third row of the RX 350L. This is the whole reason why Lexus decided to offer it. Dealers and people have been asking for it. So how do you get back here? Well, first of all, there is a lever right here where you can pull. This will slide the seat forward here, and it does give a pretty decent amount of space to get back there. But as you can see over there, that's with the seat all the way back. I couldn't even get back there because I actually have legs, so which is why Lexus recommends you have to move the seat back. But let me get back here and show you guys just how useful this seat is. Oh geez. So it actually feels a little bit smaller than I thought. Now as you can see, I can't even get back there, so I have to move the seat forward over here. This is with the seat kind of moved to the first click. Right. Yeah, so I honestly would have to move the seat all the way up, and that would give no leg room to the second row because my knees are slammed into the seat. This headrest here does move up, and my head is actually touching the ceiling. So this is pretty useless, even for kids. This is smaller than everything else in the segment. The MDX offers way more space than this. You'll find more space in the Volvo, in the Audi. So Lexus kind of, I feel like they really, they added the third row, but they should have done more to make this a little bit more comfortable. Now, thankfully, there are like rear seat climate control switches back here, which I'm surprised Lexus put it back here. Why aren't they up there in the front? Because nobody is going to sit back here. It's buried all the way over here with the air vents. So it's a little bit strange that they did that. But just know that the third row is barely even habitable for small children. Honestly, you're just going to use it occasionally when you have very little kids to put in the back, but even that, it's kind of a torture chamber back here. Looking under the hood of the RX 350L, Lexus also kept it pretty simple. The powertrains have not changed from the standard 2-row model, although they did lose 5 horsepower in the process. This is the same 3.5 liter corporate direct injection, or it's actually direct and port injected double overhead cam V6. It makes 290 horsepower in this application and 263 pound-feet of torque. That lost 5 horsepower compared to the 2-row and 5 pound-feet of torque. So if you're keeping score, a Highlander V6 actually makes 5 more horsepower than this. So that was an interesting decision on Lexus's part. If you guys want more power, there is an RX 450H L, which has basically the 3.5 liter V6 with 3 electric motors. That makes 308 horsepower combined. Now, fuel economy for the base gas engine, this is rated at 18 city, 25 highway. It dropped by 1 mpg, and the reason for doing so is because this is heavier. It's around 300 pounds heavier. This one, as it sits with all-wheel drive, weighs around 4,600 pounds. It'll tow up to 3,500 pounds. The standard transmission, the only transmission, is an 8-speed Lexus direct shift automatic transmission. Let's get out on the road and see how it all performs. So the last Lexus RX I drove was 2 years ago, is when this generation first came out. And it was just, of course, the 2-row model. But you know, the 3-row model, even though it's 4.5 inches longer, the wheelbase remains the same. So I'm happy to report, just setting off in this L version, this doesn't feel any bigger or any different, to be honest, from the standard 2-row version. I mean, I guess if you look out the back window, you see a 3rd row sitting there, which is a little bit strange, but it doesn't feel that much bigger or heavier. What hasn't changed about the RX is just the luxury feel. I mean, the ride is so pillowy soft, the seats are so supple and comfortable. I love the cooled seats, they work extremely well. And this 3.5 liter V6 moves the RX out smartly. It's not a fast car. Lexus actually says this vehicle is about half a second slower to 60 because of the extra weight, and it also has been reduced by 5 horsepower. But you're probably not gonna really notice it because people who drive an RX don't drive this like a jerk. They tend to just kind of cruise. So I'm gonna put the drive mode here back into its normal setting, and we're just gonna cruise on the highway because this is where the RX seriously excels. I mean, the ride quality is one of the best ride qualities in the segment. This is the definition of pillowy soft, buttery. That's basically the impression that I get when I get into a Lexus, most Lexus products. It's so quiet in here. I'm going almost 70 miles an hour and there's barely any noise in here. I can literally just whisper because it's so quiet. The steering is electric, and the vehicle has plenty of body lean. It's kind of a slow steering. So this is not sporty by any measures. Even the F Sport model is not very sporty. So if you guys are looking for an actual luxury crossover, this is the one you want to look at, from its comfortable seats to its good visibility to its, you know, very just relaxed demeanor. This is a car that if you had a long day at work, you kind of get into this thing, you look forward to driving it home because it's so comfortable and it's so quiet. And you just kind of forget about the nastiness of the outside world. Now, like every other Lexus product, this vehicle does have their Lexus Safety System Plus. It's not the 2.0 version with the active lane trace, so it does have active lane keep assist, where it'll vibrate the wheel if you cross over, and then if you kind of cross over too much, it tries to shove you back in the lane. But honestly, it doesn't really do that great of a job. It will wait until the last second, then it'll kind of shove you back over and it'll vibrate the wheel. The adaptive cruise control does have the full stop and go capability, which is nice, but just keep in mind that the RX is an older design. And honestly, as Lexus's best-selling model, they do need to do something about this. They need to refresh this car, which I'm imagining a refresh should be coming soon. I mean, 2019 is the 3rd model year of this generation. So I'm actually really surprised that Lexus hasn't updated the front end styling, updated the interior a little bit. I mean, they gave us the L version, which is nice, but the rest of the car could use some upgrades. Now, this 8-speed automatic transmission is a Lexus design transmission, and honestly, it is a great transmission in this car. When I put my foot down and floor it there, it's quick to downshift, and it's also a really smooth transmission. It just kind of gets the, goes through the gears really nicely. It puts the engine right in the meat of its power band, and this V6 is buttery. It's really quiet. It gets surprisingly good fuel economy for what it is. And it does move out the RX smartly. Now, of course, there are much more performance-oriented crossovers, which I probably myself would go for that option instead. But if you don't care about that, you just want all-out smoothness, you want Lexus and Toyota reliability, this one should definitely be, you know, right up there at the top of your list. So because this is not a sporty vehicle, when you take corners in it, like highway off-ramps, you do need to slow down because the body leans a lot, the tires start screaming, the steering doesn't offer much feedback. I can't really tell what the front tires are doing. And you just get a sense that the Lexus doesn't like being hurried. It really doesn't. So you just need to drive it very smoothly, very efficiently, very calmly. That's the whole purpose of buying a Lexus RX. When you put your foot down hard, the engine barely makes any noise. And it does take a good amount of time. You need to be a little patient with this thing getting up to 60. It feels like it gets to 60 in around 8 seconds. So feels a little bit sluggish for me. I would prefer something that was around the 6.5 second mark. An Acura MDX would easily smoke this thing. So you maybe want to look into, you know, looking at the hybrid model. The hybrid model does offer a little bit more power versus this gas-only model. But even on this crappy broken pavement, this car is really quiet. Going up here into regular pavement, it soaks up the bumps so well, you wouldn't even notice you're on crappy pavement. When you put your foot down here, the passing power is okay. The engine likes to rev though, it's smooth, and that's what's really important in this segment. So even though it's an underpowered V6, it's a very refined V6. You feel the extra weight, the 300 pounds that this is lugging around. Let's talk about the fuel economy, because in my week's worth of testing, this is a little bit lower than the 2-row model. I was getting around 17 miles to the gallon in mixed driving. mostly city. On the highway, the best it could do was around 23 miles to the gallon. So it's definitely better than what Lexus offered before, the GX with the third row or the LX, but fuel economy could be better. I blame the fact that it's because it's a little bit sluggish at times. I'm putting my foot down a little bit more, but I imagine those of you who are a little bit lighter with your throttle applications, you should be able to get closer to that 25, maybe even surpass it, because I did get better gas mileage in a standard two-row Lexus RX. But overall, this is still a very pleasant luxury crossover. I just don't understand the packaging with Lexus in the third row model. It's useless to me. I would just get the two-row model. If you really do need a three-row capability, you should probably look at an Acura MDX. So when it comes to mid-size luxury crossovers, it's pretty easy to see why this is the best-selling model in the Lexus lineup. It still makes a very strong case for itself, especially when the average person is looking to upgrade into a luxury SUV. As you guys saw from the video, the interior is the strongest aspect of this car. The seats are probably one of the most comfortable seats I've sat in. It's really easy to drive. It's got a really soft, compliant ride. It's really quiet on the inside, and it's just really easy to live with on a day-to-day basis. Now, when you get past the love it or hate it styling, the RX still also can either pull you in or it can kind of detract you. But overall, I think in this Matador red color with the 20-inch wheels, the RX is still a relatively attractive crossover. I'm just not so sure that the three-row version works in this car. As you can see from this angle, the odd proportions of this car kind of remind you that it's best as a two-row version. The extra 4.5 inches of length really haven't kind of translated well with the actual rear overhang. And I think if Lexus was going to give us a third-row version, they kind of need to do something to differentiate it. But if you guys are looking to purchase an RX with a third-row seat, what's it going to cost? Well, the base two-row version is relatively well priced. It starts at around $43,700. That's actually a couple grand less than a lot of its competition, including the Acura MDX. Now, Lexus does charge a premium for the third-row option. It's about $4,000 more for the third row, which makes this vehicle start at $47,700. Add about $1,500 if you guys want all-wheel drive. That makes it about a couple grand more than the least expensive Acura MDX, but still considerably cheaper than something like an Audi Q7. Although, again, as you guys saw, the Lexus has very small amounts of interior space. Now, this one has a few good amount of options on it, from the upgraded wheels to the paint, to the sunroof option, to the upgraded leather interior, to the nav option. This one stickers for around $57,000, which is pretty expensive, although a fully loaded MDX can easily be around $59,000 for the top-of-the-line model. Just keep in mind that if you guys go all out on a Lexus RX, it is more expensive than some of its Japanese competition like the Infiniti QX60. Fully loaded versions of this can easily top $62,000, which does put it more into the German car territory. But what I like about the Lexus is probably its creamy soft ride, its really smooth powertrain, its comfortable seats. It has the best seats in the Japanese segment at least, and I really kind of just wish Lexus would go all out and just add a full massaging seat option. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2019 Lexus RX 350L. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.